Okay, we don't have the goals written here for today, but basically today we explore the part where we don't tell you quite all the info. In the past, we've told you all the info, and you just plug it in your calculator, it found the spot on the table, and you were done. Okay? Hopefully you're already pretty good at that part. Now, what if we don't tell you quite enough info? Like we don't tell you what should the payment be? There is a program, there's an app for that. And I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. But let's just review what you've learned already. Okay, so you plan to buy a new car that costs $22,000. I was talking to the kids last hour about the Tesla, the new Tesla that just came out has an insane mode. Have you seen that? They have basically, if you put it into insane mode, I don't know if it's a button you push or whatever, then when you hit the gas, it goes into the super acceleration mode, and it can go to 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. So like 1, 2, 3. Now you're going highway speed. And that is really fast acceleration. Just for perspective, your typical car is going to be doing that, in maybe 9 seconds. Okay, another fair comparison would be with the BMW version of their electric car. It looks really sweet. It's a sports car, and their electric car will do 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. So going 0 to 60 in 3 seconds instead of 4.5 seconds, I know it doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but that means it's like 50% faster. Okay, 50% faster is a lot. So anyway, it's so fast that it'll like whip you back in your seat. Yes?
Okay, did you see the commercial?
All right, I showed the video. We're buying this car. It's going to cost way more than $22,000, by the way, for the one I showed you. But the investment must be paid off in. Oh, wait a minute. The investment. That's not. Oh, I guess they're calling it investing in their car. But the bank you're financing with charges an interest rate. All right. So this is not an investment. The loan. You are taking a loan for the car. That's the way sometimes people say things when they want to make it sound like it's a good thing. We'll call a loan an investment in a car. It's not. You're borrowing the money. The bank you are financing with charges interest at an annual rate of 7.9% compounded monthly. All right. What is the monthly interest rate? Here, all I want you to do on this is you'd write the 7.9 divided by the 12. See what I mean? Don't even divide it. We're never going to actually do that in real life. We're always going to leave it like that in our formula. And that way you preserve the annual interest rate. This is the annual interest rate. The whole thing together would be the monthly interest rate. Yes, sir. Go ahead. All right, good question. You're right, and I'm in the mode, thank you. I'm in the mode where I am 079, where I was using the app that I'm about to teach you in a minute. On that one, you have to change it into the interest rate as a percentage, and I apologize. When we're doing them in the sequences, you use 0.079. Sorry. Okay, so again, this is the decimal for it. If you wanted the percent for it, then you would take 7.9 over 12, and that would be a percent. All right, that can get confusing, no doubt. Okay, what is the first month's interest on the 22,000? All right, well, again, if we divide this out, that's our interest rate. Then we times that by the 22,000. If you pay $300 a month, what will be the remaining balance after the first month? Let's just put this in the calculator, and it'll tell us all of that stuff. Okay? So everybody grab your graph and calculator. If you haven't already got it out, get it out now. And we're going to put this into the calculator. Y equals. Always start with sub-zero. If you're borrowing one of mine, make it fast. You can leave me collateral. And please get your own soon. All right. U sub n minus 1 times 1 plus. This is always going to stay the same. And this is 7.9% this time, so I'm going to go 0.79 divided by 12. They tell us the payments in this one, don't they? If you pay $300 a month. Okay, so I'm going to put in 300 minus 300 is my payment then. 300. and my loan was for $22,000. I'm going to pause for just a second and let you catch up to right there. Okay, I was asked a good question. They noticed that I didn't have a parenthesis in here, a double parenthesis. I have decided that that is not a great idea because a lot of people were forgetting the end parenthesis and it was screwing up their answers really badly. So it turns out, if you just think about the math of it, inside this parenthesis is where the computer will start because it knows the order of operations you have to go in the parentheses. Then it will know to do the divide first before the add because of the order of operations. So we don't need that extra parenthesis around here, and it's just more likely to screw you up. Okay? Because if you forget the extra end parenthesis, then your calculator is going to be messed up, and you can't come up to me during the test and say, my calculator won't work. What's wrong with my equation? All I can say is delete it and type it over again because I can't tell you what the equation is, otherwise I'm doing the problem for you. So anyway, this will prevent mistakes if we just only have the one set of parentheses around the outside of it. Okay, so get your calculator to look like that. I'm going to pause for a second while you do that thing. All right, I'm back with you. So we were supposed to answer, if you pay $300 a month, what will the remaining balance be after the first month? Remember, when we go to the table here, I'm going to my table settings to make sure that I get to the zero. I start with 0 on my table. Otherwise, your table might take forever to load. All right, after 1 month, there it is. I just have to arrow over so I get the exact answer to the penny, and it's $21843.99, $21,843.99. Notice it's slightly different in the chart, right? They rounded to the nearest buck. Now, in the real world, they do round to the dollar sometimes, but not all the time. Think about it, depends on the thing you're buying. I've never seen a house price that came out with pennies on it. Okay, but if you're buying candy, a lot of times it comes out with pennies on it. All right, let me make sure, how many of you had 2184399? Raise your hand if you did. Uh-oh. Okay, so how come it's so different than you guys? Let me double check this. 1 plus 0.079, do you guys use 7.9%? Divide by 12, $22,000 loan. I will say my calculator was acting a little weird last hour, so I'm going to double check, make sure there's nothing weird at the end here. Ah, look at that. Mine had $300.84 on it. So, oops. Thanks for telling me. Better than not just assume you're doing something wrong, because it might be something I'm doing wrong. That was in there from last hour from a different problem, so sorry. Now I'll go check that table again. There we go. I'm going to go down to, that's after 1 month right there. 21844.83. How many of you have that on your calculator? Okay, good. All right, now the rest of you were probably just rounding with me and saying it's close enough. But, all right, that is what you should have. And if yours is not like that, I need to get it fixed. So I need to get you paired up with somebody. I'd like you to get to your table and put your table side by side with the person I show you and make sure your first 3 numbers are the same as theirs. Okay, these 2 rows together, just straight across, these 2 rows straight across, these 2 rows straight across from each other. Make sure your first 3 rows or first 3 numbers are the same on your table. If they're not, help them fix it. Okay, good. You've got somebody to ask now if your calculator starts freaking out. You can always compare your y equals screens to them. Okay. Do you get that after this first month you've had to pay some interest, but you also made a payment? So there's 2 things happening. You're not just shrinking it by $300. You're actually making it grow first because you had to pay interest. And the interest was this much of your $22,000. And then you make a payment of $300. And so this new number here, this net right there, is after you had the interest made your amount go up, and then your payment made it go down. Your net is 21844.83. Okay, good enough. Now, this is what do you need to pay a month? So the car is paid off in exactly 60 months. The old way we taught this was kind of painful. You had to play with the payment over and over and over again until you finally found a number that would make the payment work so that it paid off in exactly 60 months. In the real world, that doesn't happen. In the real world, they tell you, here's your payment, and it will pay it off in however many months. They don't make you find your own payment. Okay? So how do we get this number the easy way instead of guess and check and try a number and see if it works? We're going to get that payment from a new app that you're about to learn. Everybody find the button called apps, APPS. Some people, I think that that Apple made up the word app. Totally didn't. They just, Apple is using the standard word for a computer program, an application. Okay, it's an app. And this button app has been on this calculator since way before the iPhone even existed. All right, so the applications we have here, finance, the first one. Do you get that they list these things in order, not alphabetical order, are they? They're in order probably of the most commonly used apps. So apparently finance is a very commonly used app. I hit enter, and I'm in here there's a whole bunch of choices of apps. I'm going to use the TVM Solver, also the very top one, implying it's a very handy app that must get used a lot. Okay, but you guys have probably never used it. The TVM Solver, TVM stands for time value of money. TVM, time value of money. All right, you need to be able to take notes now. So in your notes, add a page right now for the TVM Solve. Actually, it's this yellow page. We added one in, my bad. All right, and we're going to put into this TVM Solver the same info we put in the other one, except it'll tell us what the payment should be. It'll solve for it. It's really cool. All right, so first of all, I need to clear mine off so it looks like yours. You probably don't have any amounts here, so I'm going to just put in zeros for everything up to, what happened there? 0, there we go. Okay, so N, and you may want to write this down unless it's in the notes somewhere. N is the number of payments. N is the number of payments. So let's do this same scenario we just did on the car. How many years did they say, or how many months did they want it paid off in? 60. So put in a 60 right there. Now, just so you know, this is kind of slick. You don't have to calculate it in your head. If you want 5 years, you go 5 times 12. And you type in 5 times 12, and it'll figure out that it's 60. See what I mean? So you can do little math problems in these blanks if you want to. Yes? The and. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, the N. Okay. The N stands for the number of payments. N is number of payments. I is the interest rate. Now this one we need to type it in. Remember me saying before I was kind of thinking like I was using the app? So if we have a 7.9% interest rate, we got to type in 7.9, not 0.079. You know why? Because it says a percent sign after it. If there is a percent sign, then you have to type in the percent. 7.9 is the percent. 0.079 is the decimal. All right, the present value. Now this is important to understand. If you're doing a loan, at the beginning, the present value, the value of that loan to you is you owe them money. You owe them negative, see? And how much was it for the loan? 22,000, thank you. The payment amount, that's what we don't know, right? So you can leave it as 0 for now, and I'll show you how to solve for it in a minute. The future value, if you owe 22,000 right now, do you agree in the future we want it to be 0? Okay. Payments per year, years probably defaulted to 1. You should change that to 12. We're pretty much going to do monthly payments on most things that we do. Okay. So if you make that P/Y means payments per year, 12. C/Y actually will automatically change with it, and that means compoundings per year. By the way, in the real world, they compound daily or instantaneously. which means that that's actually going to throw the payment off just a tiny bit from what you might get from the actual car dealer or whatever. Okay, but we're going to do it 12, and this 12 will automatically change, and you always keep it on end. So these last two things, the payment, you want it on end of the month. That's what that means. You're making a payment at the end of the month. And C/Y is always going to automatically be defaulted to whatever you typed here. So you never have to type the last two things. You do have to change your payment per year to 12, but pretty much always going to use 12 there. So really, once you get this thing set up, all you have to do is change like one number and you can do the next problem on it. And you know the other thing that's really nice about it? You know the other one, you have to wait for it to calculate the table. This one's like instantaneous. All right, what did we want to know? We wanted to know the payment. So I'm going to get everybody to get your little blinky cursor thing over the payment. And here's where the magic happens. You probably never used this button before. It's right above the Enter key. It's called Solve. Now you don't hit second to get there though. Notice it's in green. So you use the alpha enter, which goes to the word solve. And look at that, it solved for it. No guessing and checking. Can you imagine how long it would have taken you to get to $445? I mean, you might have guessed 500, but you would have never guessed 445. And it takes a while to guess and check your way to that. So we're saving you a ton of time this year by allowing you to use this app to tell you what is the payment amount. All right, I want to just change something and show you how quick this can change. Let's say you realize, oh no, it's not 7.9%, it's 7.95%. Everybody go up to 7.9 and change that to 7.95. And notice the payment did not change a bit. It is not like a spreadsheet that automatically changes. You have to go on top of it and then do the alpha solve. And now it changed it just a teeny tiny bit. All right, so if you have a teeny tiny change in the interest rate, of course the payment's not going to change much. But let's just think about this for a second and see how cheap it could be. Let's say they're running it was $445, right? Let's say they're running a 2% interest rate deal. I'm going to change this to 2%. And again, I can change this in seconds. I can go, now what's the payment? $385. Wow, that's a lot cheaper. That's like $60 a month cheaper. And that's a lot of, I mean, $60 a month for 5 years, that's going to add up. $60 a month times, well, heck, just for 12 months, 60 times 12, is $720. You're going to save $700 a year because they're running this special on interest rates. Have you guys ever seen that? Special low rate financing. I got my radio voice. Anyway, oftentimes if a car isn't selling super well, they'll give it to a super low financing rate. It's actually kind of interesting. The ones you see advertised the most, like huge rebates on this car, it's because they're having trouble selling them. It's an interesting perspective. You know what I mean? Like the cars that are really hot, you actually have to have a waiting list to get those. And they don't give you any special deal. So the ones that are super popular, super hot, you don't see them advertised like that. We're cutting the rates on all our cars. They are not cutting the rates on the Teslas, for instance, that are really hot. You have to, you know, pick it out and then wait a long time to get yours. And they don't give you any special deals. And I'm not saying Tesla's the ultimate car. I'm just saying right now that's one that's getting a lot of buzz right now. One of the things they did that recently that's interesting is they just built a factory that's going to cost them $1 billion. Isn't that insane? They're making a factory. It's going to cost them $1 billion to make, and it's going to create lithium batteries for their cars. They actually think they're going to create other batteries there too, and it probably is going to advance the battery business a lot because this one factory is going to making more than half the batteries in the world are going to be made in this one factory. That's a big factory. And here's the really, really crazy part. That's $1 billion. Apple right now has $180 billion in the bank in cash. Yes. They could have their own space station. They could have 180 of those battery factories I just talked about. They could buy 180 of them, just the cash in their bank account. They're like trying to figure out what to do with their cash. There's debates about it. Some people say they should give it back to the shareholders. Everybody who owns Apple shares, they should just hand it out as what's called a dividend. And they're actually doing that right now. They're already paying a small dividend on their stock. Some people say they should buy Tesla, for example, and buy a car company. You could buy Tesla for probably $5 billion. I mean, they have like 180 left. It's just insane. They got so much money.
Tesla's got so much money, I think they can actually run it in ridiculous net losses for something like 20 years.
All right, so anyway, we have a new app that's going to help you solve for these problems really quickly and easily, and it makes this day much happier for me to be able to show you this app instead of, yes, you have to try a new number and keep trying until you get it. And it was a guess and check thing that would take forever to find that payment. All right, so let's actually do one here where we use this app. Let's just do it on the homework. So everybody find the homework that's posted for today, and we'll start it with you. I'll start it with you. It's Loans and Investments Day 2. And I felt like it was pretty good, but it's a little longer than it needs to be, so I'm going to cut some out. Class time's a little shorter today because it's a mass day, so I'm going to cut out part 1C, and that's this part right here. And I'm going to cut out problem 4, which has got a multi-part problem that it's probably actually a decent problem. It's just I need to cut something out, so that's what I'm cutting. Part 1C and part 4. Problem 4. All right, let's do some together here. Assume that each of the sequences represents a financial situation. Indicate whether each represents a loan or an investment, and give the principal and the depositor payment amount. All this is can you look at a formula like this and know whether it's a loan or an investment? There's one little symbol that tells me if it's a loan or an investment. Which one is it? The plus and the minus, or the minus. That one right there. That symbol right in front of the 100. So that is telling me, is it a loan or investment? Investment. So you circle investment. The principal is the starting amount, $1,000. Super simple. Depositor payment amount. This is where our depositor payment is. And it says circle one. Oh, what is it? Well, if it's an investment, that's a deposit. Frequency of compounding. Wait a minute. They didn't divide by 12 here. So what they really did is they divided by 1. Do you get what I mean? There's one time per year. That's an annual interest rate. Remember when we didn't ever divide by anything? We'd always have technically a divided by 1 there that you weren't even thinking about. So how many times was it compounded? 1 time per year. Another way you could say that in words? Annual. Okay, so 1 or annual. Annual interest rate, right there. 0.04. Now, is that a rate? Is that a percentage? Well, it's really hard because did we ask for the percentage? Oh, no, but I'd rather have you here put 4%. Okay, the next couple are like that, so you should be able to flow with that, no big deal, I hope. If you have questions, you can always catch me during work time. Number 3, you take out a car loan for $12,500 at 7.5% compounded monthly, and you make monthly payments of $350. Right or recursive? All right, I can do that. U0 is the way you always start these real world problems, and it's 12,500. UN is given by U sub n minus 1 times 1 plus. It always starts that way. Every single problem you're going to do starts that way. The only thing that would be different is that. All right. Now I wrote all over it. I should fix it. 12,500. Okay. So then 1 plus the rate, 0.075 divided by monthly 12. Notice I do not have to have parentheses around that. That was just cluttering things up and making it more likely you're going to mess it up. Then payments of $350. And I got to remember, if it's a loan, loans are generally a negative thing because you have to pay interest on them. See, it's a minus. However you want to think of it. It's a minus if it's a loan. That would have been a plus if this had been an investment. You put this in the bank and you're earning interest. But the only way you can tell is that plus or that minus. Loans are kind of a negative thing. They do say that loans for education and loans for a house are two kinds of, and even sometimes they say loans to start a business. If your business is being really successful, a business loan can be a good idea. Other than that, Other loans are generally not great. But we all know that sometimes you just don't have enough money to buy the car. Just don't go too crazy on the loans, especially for your college. We're going to be getting to that in about a week. We're going to be talking about college loans for you guys. And you're going to get a chance to do this kind of stuff for yourself. For what if I decide to take out loans to go to college? Again, some loans, understandable. The average person has $30,000 in loans nowadays when they come out of college. But some kids are coming out with $200,000 in loans, which is like the amount that you'd have to borrow to get a house. And in the old days, nobody came out with huge loans like that. They wouldn't even let them. So nowadays, people are coming out of colleges with these massive loans, and they're starting so far. They're actually not starting out like even. They're not starting out with nothing. They're starting out with way worse than nothing. They're starting out with a huge negative balance that they have to put money into to just get back to zero. Their net worth is not zero. It's negative 200,000. Now, again, if you just got 200,000 in loans because you are now a doctor, I understand that one more because they're going to make lots of money and be able to pay it back. But if you just got your bachelor's degree, you just got done with 4 years of college, nobody's going to pay you enough to be able to handle that 200,000 in loans. So again, and in certain jobs, petroleum engineer is probably the highest paid job you can get after 4 years, other than making up a dream job like you salesman that's super successful or something like that. But if you're at a normal job, a petroleum engineers make about $90,000. They can afford to have a loan of about $50,000 coming out of college. Anything over that, that's if you're making the most expensive, getting the most pay you possibly can. So anyway, I just hate to see you guys leave high school not knowing about the loans. And a lot of people don't think about it until it's too late. They're like, oh, I want to go there. Oh, I'll have to take loans. I don't care. I'll deal with that later. And then all of a sudden they come out with this huge loan, and they don't realize how deeply in debt they're going to be. Okay. So. Oh my gosh, your brother has a degree in petroleum engineering. Awesome. Can't get the jobs though. Oh, I suppose because right now oil prices are down so much, everything's slowed down. Interesting. Wow. Petroleum engineer was like the perfect hottest job you could have, and she's mentioning it's hard to find jobs in that right now because oil prices just went from $100 a barrel to $45 a barrel. So oil companies are like, we're not going to be hiring anybody because our money supply just dropped in half. It might change. Who knows? You know, wait a year, it might pop right back up. All right, how long will it take to pay off the loan? All right. Well, you can look on the table and see how long it'll take to pay off the loan. But there's an app for that. Let's put this one in on the calculator on this thing. How long will it take? It'll tell you how long it'll take. Yes, it will. This is kind of cool. We don't know how long it's going to take, right? We don't know how many payments. Put in a 0 for now, and we'll calculate it later. What interest rate are we at? 7.5%. I'm doing your homework with you, so you should be doing this on your calculator right now with me. All right, the interest rate is 7.5. Remember, I don't put in 0.075. 7.5. And the loan amount is $12,500 negative $12,500. The payment on that, it tells me that. It tells me the payment on this one was $350. So I'm making that $350. Future value, remember it's a loan. You want the future value to eventually have it paid off. It to be 0. And remember, those last 3 are usually just going to be 12, 12, and end. You don't have to touch them. Okay, now, I didn't know my N. It's basically how many payments should I make? Alpha, enter. That's the solve thing. 40.54 payments. Now, think about this. A lot of kids are going to write down 40. Will 40 payments be enough? No. Can you make a half a payment? No. So you got to make 41 payments and let them send you a refund. Now in the real world, in that last payment, you can call them and say, instead of you me making the full payment and then you giving me a refund, which they can do. You can also call up and say exactly how much should I pay to be done. I did that on my house loan. When I got to the end, I was like, okay, so tell me what the final payment is I have to pay. And they tell you this exact number, and you have to pay it by a certain date, and this exact number, and then they won't have to send the refund. It would have been simpler, just send them a big enough check, and they would have sent me a refund. That would have been fine too. But they would, for make their life easier, they actually like it if you call them, because then they don't have to send you the money back. So, okay, so the final answer is 41 payments. So 41 months. Remember, that's not years. 41 months. All right. What's the total amount you paid for the car then? Well, I made 41. Oh, I got dyslexia for a second there. 41 payments of $350. And then they're going to send me back how much? Ooh. That's where you're going to need the other part. We have to put this in on the other side to know. But at least you didn't have to guess and check what month it's going to be paid off. You know this sucker will be paid off in the 41st month. So I'm going to go now to my y equals and put the same info in here. It's 7.5%. So again, a lot of this can stay the same. I just have to change this to 0.75. And my payment was $350. 350. And it was a $12,500 loan. Now, I'm just going to go right to my right spot on the table, too. I know it's going to take me 41 months. I want 41 or 40. Maybe I'll go 40 just so I can see it progress to being paid off. So then I go to my table, and it processes and processes, but I'm telling you, at least you didn't have to search around and guess and check what month it's paid off. We know it's paid off right there on 41. So on the 40th month, was it paid off? No, we still owed $100. On the 41st month, it was paid off, and they owed us $160 back. All right, so how do we, oh, yes? I'm going to ask you to check that. You go ahead and check that. So I'm going to go to this and say, all right, they owe me exactly that much back. So I take 41 times 350 and I subtract 160 point, be careful with the decimals here, I'm rounding this to 49. Has somebody got that done yet? Anyone? What'd you get? Can anybody verify that? You got that too? Awesome, thank you. Then $14,189.51 is the total I paid for the car. A really good follow-up question was, how much was the interest? All you have to do, remember, this is more than what we borrowed. We borrowed this. You just subtract off what the amount was we borrowed in the first place, and the rest is interest. So you'd subtract the $12,500. And that would tell you how much interest. That was not on this problem, but I'm just warning you for the test, you'd need to know how much of it was interest. And whatever's more than what you borrowed, that's the amount that's the interest. Okay, I'm curious. Did it come out exact, or how far off was it?
It was 14129.21.
Okay, so it was off by 30 cents. All right. I'm going to say stick with using the method we've done before. I have a feeling it's just this is a rounding thing, because remember our payment we used, or our number of months, I can't explain. That is interesting. I wonder which one's more accurate. Like if we, if it's only off by 30 cents over the course of 40 months, that's pretty darn close, really. If you think about it percentage-wise, that's incredibly close. So, okay. So, I've done one of your homework problems here. Number 4, I said you could skip. If you're feeling weak on this stuff, and you want to do number 4 and check if the answers are there, you're welcome to do that. And we're not ready for the test yet, but you are going to be tested on this stuff here. So tomorrow is not the test. But if you're struggling with this stuff, remember you can always come in the morning, get some extra help, Don't just like sit there lost. Other kids next to you a lot of times can help you with the calculator part if you're struggling with that. So, all right, that's all I have for the lesson for the day.